Trump wants to achieve peace in Ukraine, but it's probably going to fail. I'm going to explain to you in this video why it's probably going to fail, and I'm going to explain to you how Trump could actually achieve peace in Ukraine, and probably even fairly fast with this. But right now, the preparations for negotiations in Saudi Arabia have started. Supposedly, the US and the Russian president are going to meet within a couple of days. On the day of recording, the rumors are being spread that the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, will also come to Saudi Arabia. So the three presidents might be in the same room. As of now, it's not confirmed yet, and the video is not going to be published on the day of recording, so something might have changed in the meantime. In this video, though, I'm going to explain to you why I don't think that right now negotiations will lead to a success, even if those are just preliminary negotiations. Even negotiations further down the road will likely fail. But I'm also going to show you how Trump could actually achieve success and how he could achieve success fairly fast. But I said all of this here in this video. Surfshark VPN is sponsoring this channel for this month. If you want to bypass geo-blocking or hide your internet activity all with a convenient app, then use Surfshark VPN for just $2.09 a month by using my link. You get 4 months extra as well. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring this channel. Trump wants peace in Ukraine. For the success, he will need to force both sides to give in to a certain degree, though. That's clear. Ukraine wants the borders of 2014 or 2013, so including Crimea and the Donbass, and they also want security guarantees. Russia, on the other hand, wants to subdue Ukraine. Meeting in the middle is kind of impossible. Ukraine is not going to accept receiving 2 provinces back and in return becoming a vassal of Moscow. So how could both of them meet in the middle, as would be possible in a negotiation about a used car? So with both sides currently being under pressure, both sides have suffered. Both of them might be willing to make peace, but neither side is broken at the moment. So no side needs to accept peace no matter what. Ukraine has suffered horrible losses in personnel, in material, and in territory. They've lost 20% of their country, but they're far from being broken. The Russian economy is under pressure. They suffered even more losses, but they can probably more easily replace them. The economy is under huge pressure, though. They lack workers, and they are in a stagflation that will lead to a massive recession as soon as the war economy ends. At the same time, the inflation is going completely rampant, and the central bank has more or less given up on trying to control the inflation. So the economy, the signs in regards to the economy are really bad in Russia, even though it's not at a point yet where Russia is forced to give in. So while both sides are under pressure, neither side is broken. Trump's initiative is likely going to fail because of that, because Ukraine will not be forced to peace. He can't force Ukraine to make peace. At the end of the war, if there is no security guarantee for Ukraine, if there's no security that allows the Ukrainian people to be sure that there's not going to be an additional invasion in the future, there is no reason for them to look into a bright future. As soon as martial law is no longer in effect, as soon as the demobilization is going to start, the men will leave the country. A lot of men who are not willing to fight. Right now, it's illegal to leave the country. As soon as it is no longer illegal, a lot of them will look for opportunities to leave the country in case of the next invasion, so they don't have to fight and die then anymore. At the same time, a lot of the refugees are not going to come back, because why would they come back if they expect that in a few years' time the Russians are going to do the next phase of an invasion? And of course, foreign investment is not going to happen. You are not going to invest your hard-earned money into building a factory in Ukraine if you expect that a few years later the Russians might bomb it to rubble, or might even take over the territory where it's on and simply take away what you invested in. So the Ukrainian youth will also leave. Surveys said that a huge part of the Ukrainian youth wants to leave the country if they don't have a perspective of a secure future, and that is basically the end of Ukraine. A mass drain in people, no foreign investment, and Ukraine is done. So with this as a perspective, without security guarantees, there's simply no reason for the Ukrainian government to sign an agreement. As long as the front line hasn't completely fallen apart and they have to basically capitulate, why would they sign a capitulation before? Now, of course, if the front line falls apart, the soldiers do mass desertions and the Russians just keep advancing, at some point the Ukrainian Ukrainian government will capitulate. But it would just be a little bit later. So until that point, there's no reason for the Ukrainians to give up. If the US present them with a peace agreement that would surmount to something close to a capitulation, if they show them a peace agreement that would not give them the necessary security guarantees for the Ukrainian people to be confident of their future, there's no reason to sign, because it's better to simply keep fighting and hope that the Europeans at some point maybe get their act together and see that they are one of the biggest economic zones in the world, with more than 20 billion in GDP, with 500 million citizens, and powerful defense economies, defense factories and companies that can produce basically everything that Ukraine wants domestically inside of Europe. The European nations would just have to go that step, and at that point Ukraine might have a further chance in the war. So for Ukraine, it would make perfect sense to just keep fighting if the US just offers them a deal that would surmount to the end of the country. It makes sense to just keep fighting and hope for a miracle. On the Russian side, the Russians are still capturing territory. Right now, they've slowed down. In the last 3 weeks, they only gained roughly 1 square kilometer per day. So we are far away from that big advances of the prior months. But still, the Russians are likely confident that they will be able to regain speed in the future. They still have heavy weaponry in their depots. They get more and more from China, Iran, and North Korea. And they still have the vastly bigger population. And after that one partial mobilization, they never did a full mobilization yet. They still completely run the war with volunteers, and they are probably confident that they can find some more. So for the Russians, there is simply no reason to sue for peace, to hope for a peace as fast as possible, because they feel they are still winning. Putin is proud of how enduring his economy is, despite all the hardships, so he doesn't feel a need to sue for peace as fast as possible because of the economy either, and he feels, why would he give up as of now when he's currently advancing all the time? Now, that means he basically has no reason to sign anything unless it gives him what he could otherwise take by himself, but where he would need force. So if an agreement offers him to more territory and maybe a small Ukrainian army that he could overrun at a later point, if it basically gives him a huge number of his war goals, he's going to sign, because that will no longer need the economic hardships for his government to continue the war. But if that's not given to him, if basically they say just stop for now or even withdraw a little bit, there's no reason for Russia to sign. Of course, there could be some offers in sanctions, but it's highly unlikely that Europe is going to follow suit. The US, President Trump might try to offer sanctions relief. That would obviously be morally wrong, but he might still offer it. But I don't think that Europe is going to follow and say, well, the Americans did it, we have no choice but follow suit. So for Russia, why would they sign anything that is not close to a Ukrainian capitulation? And if this is the contract that Trump is going to trying to present to get a Russian signature, it would be a defeat of the US. He would openly say that my great deal was the defeat of Ukraine. So it's kind of unlikely that Trump wants to present this, because it would harm his reputation as a winner that he is upholding. It would be bad for him. So basically, both sides have suffered a lot so far in the war, but a compromise is unthinkable as of now. So why would we expect something to be signed? Anders Puk Nielsen made a very good video about that too. I'm going to put the link in the description. He said it much more eloquently than me. But I have an option how Trump could actually achieve an agreement, and it wouldn't even be that difficult. Just imagine Trump would give Ukraine weapons, and he wouldn't just give them bit by bit like his predecessor did, who tried to manage the war between defeat and between victory to keep the war going, as he saw that as the least escalation. He would give Ukraine more. He would not put any restrictions on it. He would give them more and more and more. He sends a lot of weapons into Ukraine. The Ukrainians are consolidating, they're stopping the Russian advance, and they start to advance themselves. This could probably be done within a couple of months. So let's say 3 to 6 months, suddenly the Ukrainians might be the ones who start pushing the Russians back. At that moment, Putin would see that Ukraine is going to not just advance now, they are going to continue advancing, that it's not just a one-time thing, but Trump has declared he's going to keep supplying Ukraine, and he can expect that he's going to keep being pushed back. At that point, if Trump has achieved that, and if he wants peace, he has a chance, because then it's in Russia's interest to sign agreement as fast as possible before they've lost more territory, as they would expect to continue losing territory. And on the Ukrainian side, they might be confident then, they might think that they can catch even more, that they can liberate even more territory, but at the same time, they would know that they can only do it with Trump's aid. And this would allow Trump to have the thumb on both sides of the scale. He could dictate. In first case, he can tell the Russians, I'm going to send them even more, and they're going to capture even more. Right now, you're allowed to keep Crimea. Right now, you're allowed to do this and do that. But if you don't sign, we'll talk again in half a year later, and then your options are far, far worse. On the Ukrainian side, he could simply tell them, okay, you get this and this back, but that's it. Be happy that you get it. If you don't accept this agreement, I'm going to stop military aid, and your current advances will stop fairly soon, and then the Russians will have the initiative again. He would have the iron grip around both sides. He could put pressure on both sides. He would have full control over the situation and could basically dictate the conditions of peace to either side and thus achieve an agreement. What he would need to do, though, is massive weapon deliveries to Ukraine. That would be the way of success. And as we probably all know, that's not the most likely outcome. But that would be an outcome that he could achieve. And that would be a way to achieve a peace, and fairly fast, though. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment if you have something to add, or if you think I'm wrong and you have better ideas. If you're new here, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description, but that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.